If we neglect our needs and if we are violating our boundaries, then we are on the thin line, ending up being a people pleaser. So we must ask ourselves, what is the motivation here?
Good enough, so you gotta be great, and I'ma do whatever it takes. Doing what I love in life, and I'll pay the price, and not stopping even if the shit kills me, even if it kills me.
Hi everyone and welcome to MattGron Talks. This is episode 91 and my name is Mattias Gronborg, aka MattGron, and I'm the founder of the HubSpot agency I Go Moon. And here I share my scaling up journey when I'm building this company from nothing to something. And with me, we have the one and only, my co-host, Svea Malina Landshoff, who makes sure we don't get stuck in my head. Hi, Svea.
Hi, Mattias. That was an energetic start to this episode. I love it. I especially love the part where you say building this company from nothing to something. I think that should be the tagline. But you know what? Our tagline is, this is where entrepreneurship runs smack into reality. Welcome to MattGron Talks, also from my side, in our second studio here in Åkersberga, close to Stockholm.
Wow.
Yeah, so I'm doing good. I've been to the dentist today. Yeah, was a third time in a couple of weeks, so not fun. But I'm done now, so everything's good. Okay. And next appointment,
good with your teeth?
Yeah, everything's good. It was like one problematic tooth that they fixed, and now next time I'll see them is in a year from now. So I'm gonna have some peace and quiet for now. Okay. So let's jump into our vlog. First of all, want to share what we do, what we talk about here in this MattGron Talks vlog.
All right. I don't know if you're still here, maybe because you were gone there for like five seconds. But nice to have you back. I think you said that I should kind of present the format if we have any newcomers here.
Yes.
So, yes. So Monday, which means basically today, because this is our Monday episode, I talk about my personal development journey, growing as a human being and becoming the best leader I can. And on Wednesday, we talk about the scaling up journey, more concrete, the stuff I learned in the entrepreneurial process. We talk about cash, we talk about execution, tactics, leadership, and then on Fridays, what are we doing then?
Fridays, you're doing your diary, as I always like to call it. You share with us your summary of the week and also your self-inventory, which I always think is very interesting. But it's not Friday, it's Monday, so let's go ahead with our Monday episode. I have a topic prepared. Yeah. Are you ready?
Yeah, I'm always a little bit nervous when you are, preparing these Mondays episodes because they are, on the personal side.
Absolutely.
We would like to keep it personal, all right?
Yeah, so in our Friday episode that we just published last week, you shared with us 12 steps to self-care, like a little note that you have next to your computer, I think.
Yes, I have it here, yes.
And two of the things that really stood out to me were, one, don't be a people pleaser, and two, don't be afraid to say no. And they stood out to me because I personally have issues with that, and I'm curious if you have too. But to start this off right, I looked up the definition of a people pleaser, and I'm gonna share it with everyone. A people pleaser is someone who tries hard to make others happy. They will often go out of their way to please someone, even if it means taking their own valuable time or resources away from them. People pleasers often act the way they do because of their insecurities and lack of self-esteem. Can you relate to this?
Yes, 100%.
Yeah, me too.
Yes.
Yeah, and I thought so, because I think we touched like the surface on this topic like a lot of episodes ago where we talked about this boundaries I mentioned. Maybe can you just give us your relationship to people pleasing? Is this something that you always had problems with? Like, how much of a problem is it? Is it just a little bit? Like, I know I'm a 100% people pleaser, so maybe give us some background, what your take is on that.
Yeah, what really spoke to me when you read that text was kind of the lack of self-esteem.
Yeah.
How that kind of is the core of being a people pleaser. And I think for me, everything started when I grew up. I grew up in a kind of a dysfunctional family where there were very not clear boundaries around relationships and emotions. And I also can see how things that happened back then, you know, I kind of blamed myself as a kid.
Yeah.
And then I, you know, started to take a like much bigger much bigger responsibility, you know, for my parents' emotions. And in one way, I would say I kind of started parenting my parents instead of the other way around, you
Yes.
know.
Yes.
And that in one way became, you know, people pleaser or people pleasing became like a survival, a way for me to, you know, survive in these, you know, dysfunctional relationships.
Yeah.
So yes,
Yeah.
I can relate
Yeah.
100%. And
me too, actually, because what you just said is also similar to what I experienced as a child. Like what you said, like kind of like parenting your parents or always feeling responsible for your parents' emotions. I was 100% there as well. And probably you had the same thing. You feel like you always had to like do everything extra well to make them happy or to not cause any more troubles than they already had. And yeah, so what you just said also really relates to my story. And when we go further, like I think we figured out where the roots are. I think it's very obvious. It's probably for most people, probably something like that is the cause for being a people pleaser. And when you go further in your adult life, how did this influence you as a grown up man? Did it have you carried on being a people pleaser, and maybe do you realize at some point you need to change something?
You know, I think like we are still human beings, so which means sometimes we fail. You know, we do wrong, and there's not like a perfect life, or you know, where there is still moments, or you know, I might fall in that trap again, of course. And I think there is, you know, I mean, let's say I have not sleeping well for a couple of nights. I mean, then it's, you know, a lot easier to maybe fall back into these kind of patterns. So you know, like, of course it can happen, but I really see, like, if I look back, you know, I came to a point when I was probably between 25 and 27, somewhere there. I had like my rock bottom experience, and you know, I came to a point where I realized, like, okay, you know, I think I need help, you know, because there was different circumstances, and I kind of always found myself on the, what should I say, like the crime scene.
Yeah.
And I couldn't blame other people anymore. Yeah. And I also maybe in one way there's like a last date where I could last date, I don't know if that's even a word, like where I could like blame the circumstances from the path. So I needed to start taking responsibility for my own life. And so there's definitely a turnaround point in my life that connects with the question you just asked me. So so my answer is yes, I can see that I really started to work on these things too. And there's an obvious reason why I have this 12 steps to self-care here next to me.
I want to hear also your opinion why it is so important also to like it is on your list, not be afraid to say no, like both in the personal life but also in business life, because I can imagine that in business, it might be even more important to be clear about some things. What do you think about this? Like, what are one of the most important things why you should not be afraid saying no, or stop trying to make everyone happy, because I guess you can't at the end of the day?
I think the answer to that question is kind of simple, because it's all about quality of life, or being happy. I mean, that's what I want. I want to live a life with quality. I want to be happy, and I mean, picking that path will lead you to the opposite. So that's like the simple answer.
Sorry,
in one way.
I just want to say something, that because I read a quote by Steve Jobs actually that really fits well into this, because apparently, I don't know if that is true, but apparently, and I'll link down the source below, he said it's only by saying no that you can concentrate on the things that are really important. And I think that kind of complements to what you were saying there, that if you say yes to everyone and everything and try to help everyone with everything, then I think you will just like lose track of yourself and what is important to yourself and what you need your own time for to work on to get yourself happy. I think that, if I understand you right, that is something like that, right?
Yes, absolutely. But I think I mean, if I think that also leads to, I mean, if you say no, you kind of, it leads to maybe time to the quality, or to create happiness or quality. Like, as you said, it's kind of in the same. But what I think is very interesting here to also talk about is maybe like what's the difference being kind of pleasing other people and actually being thoughtful. Because you could be in the people pleasing, or like codependent, or you can also be like thoughtful or actually caring for someone. Like, what's the difference? But I think it's very simple. I think our motivation tells us the difference. I mean, if our motivation for being thoughtful, or caring for someone, if the motivation is fear-based, and of any need to like fix, caretake, control, maybe manipulate, like you said, like you try to actually understand your and control your mother, or maybe I'm doing it to avoid abandonment. And if we I think if this is the motivations, then I think we behaving in like a people-pleasing way. And but if our motivation is a sincere kind of desire to give another person, like with no fear or shame, or neglect of our needs and boundaries, then we are actually really caring for someone. Then we are thoughtful.
I agree.
So when, like, if we neglect our needs, and if we are violating our boundaries, then we are on the thin line, ending up being a people pleaser. So we must ask ourselves, what is the motivation here? And
I think to add something to what you said there, with like find the right motivation, and when you're trying, like me, I'm kind of like actively trying to get a bit away from this. Like, I'm not, that's the thing. Like, I think it's also sometimes easy when you just start to say no to everything. Because I also know people in my like personal circle of friends that started to just say no to everything and put themselves first all the time, which I respect. That's okay. But I think there's also a thin line to doing the complete opposite, where you just say no to everything and don't do anything for other people anymore. So I think it's really, as so often in life, about finding the balance, and also, like you said, finding the right motivation. If you want to help someone moving because you care for that person and you love that person and it's your friend, and they help you out as well, then that's absolutely fine. But I think what also comes into play here are some toxic people. We also talked about that at the workplace, that really just take advantage of you. And I think that's another thing that that happens to people like us very easily, that I think toxic people just smell that if you are someone who is always helping out others and they take advantage of you. So I think it's just important also to protect yourself. And I have on the website where I found the definition of people pleaser, they also had a list of things what you can do to work on yourself and don't be as much of people pleaser. They had a list of things you could do, and I had like 3 points that I thought were really good. And maybe you also have something to add, I don't know, but I thought the first thing that I really liked was, they said, if someone like asks you to help them out with something, first thing you should do is delay the answer. Don't say yes right away, because that's also something that I do. I just say yes, sure, of course, and just take a moment, maybe say yes then, say no then, or just say, you know what, I'm not sure right now, I'll get back to you about that. I think that's really good, because then you just have some time for yourself to think and really reflect, do you want to do it? Because I think a lot of times you say yes and right after you regret it, and then you're mad at the person and you're mad at yourself for saying that, because maybe you had a lot of stuff to do, but you agreed on also helping them out on something. And then
you create the space, basically. You create some space to be able to actually think
about it. Yes. Yeah. And then the other thing is also, if you don't want to do something, then just don't feel like you have to excuse yourself for everything. Because I also feel like when I don't want to, I don't know, go out with friends for dinner because I just don't feel like it, like I'm stressed the whole week, I just always come up with excuses and think, oh, what could I say? Like, I don't want to like offend anyone. But then they said, actually, just don't use the word I can't go tonight, because then it's always going to be like, oh, why? And then people are going to be like, yeah, but it's just going to be for an hour, or I'm promise it's going to be fine. When you say I can't, rather say I don't. Just say, you know what, I don't want to this week. Then there's no question anymore. I thought that was also a really good tip, just to think about also phrasing how you say something. And
I think that goes also hand in hand with what I was talking about when we neglect our needs. I mean, maybe you don't want to go to that party because you don't want to go to that party. And I mean, you don't need to explain yourself. But I mean, if you don't have these boundaries, then you always kind of ending up to give a really good reason, because if you don't have the reason, the other person will be hurt. I mean, at the end, if someone gets hurt because you're not joining the party, I think you still need to take care of yourself.
And the last point I took from that list, there are more. I can link it below if someone wants to read it. It's a really good list, I think. The last one is just what I kind of said, is stop apologizing. Because I always, like I said, have the feeling I need to explain myself. But I think a lot of times you don't need to, and you need to learn this. If you're always used to saying yes to everything and make everyone happy. Also, like I said, find the balance of, not being an asshole, but also not being too nice to everyone. Like that's the thing.
But I don't think it's not about what do you mean with balance? Because I think also for me, like boundaries for me, it depends in what kind of environment you are in. Because there is, if you are in, you were talking about toxic people, and let's say you are in an environment where there's a lot of toxic people, then it's kind of hard to find a balance between yes and no, because then you need to be like saying maybe you need to say no.
Yeah.
No. And
Yeah, that's
so
true.
what I just want to say is it's so important to understand the motivation behind why I want to say yes or no. Like, do I, if I'm in one way afraid for anything, like,
is it love or fear based? I think that's like the
exactly. Is it fear based or love based? If if I go back and just look at myself, where I started, telling you about where I come from, I can see, I was operating very fear based. Versus having clear boundaries, and I think you need self-esteem to really set boundaries, because I mean, if you don't have them, you will always start questioning yourself in these kind of relationships.
I think that's like the core of this episode. And as so often, I think also I realize it comes up a lot lately that we talk a lot about self-esteem and trusting yourself, trusting your intuition. I realize also more and more how important that is, not only in business life, but also in personal life.
I mean, what's the difference?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, at the end, you are the same person you are in the business. You also talked about authenticity as a leader. Some people may play a role, but I think we're also on the same page. We are ourselves. We don't try to portray someone else when we are in business mode. I'm still the same Svea, when I'm that. And I have still the same flaws and the same good traits about myself. I cannot change that. This is who I am, and we need to, work on things. But also, very importantly, trust ourselves and develop self-esteem if you're not born with a huge amount of it. And obviously it's a big influence on your upbringing, where you came from, and you have to work on it all your life, definitely.
And I can also relate to that. When you set and get clear boundaries, stuff would change around you, and relationships will change, and also, like, maybe work environment, like everything change when you start working on these things that you find like inside of yourself. So
that's true, because how I quit my old job to start freelancing again, because this is what I love to do. That's the same thing. I also set boundaries because I didn't feel appreciated. I didn't feel like they were good people there who were managing me. They didn't have the right intentions, in my opinion. So I set that boundary, and I said, okay, you know what? I'm out of here. I'm leaving. I'm doing my own thing. And like you said, it led to amazing things. I'm super happy with my life now. So that was a good point you said there. But Mattias, I think we need to wrap up this episode now. I think we're getting too deep into the topic.
I was thinking about one thing you said there. I think it's a part of the loop. Like, if you don't have these boundaries, kind of where you start and where you end, you said something, you kind of blame yourself. Like, can you talk a little bit more about that? Like, what did you mean? Like, when you don't say no, and then you get kind of disappointed on yourself.
You mean when you say yes to someone, you kind of get mad at them and mad at yourself. I mean, I would rather get not disappointed maybe, but mad at me, because of that reason, that I was not able to set my boundaries again, because I know I want to, but then again I just said yes too quickly because I don't want to offend anyone. I want to help people, but I think that's it. I'm mostly just annoyed by myself that I didn't take the time to, what we just learned, delay the answer. Just take your time and think about it, and then get back to that person. That's what I meant by that.
I think that's a really good example how you can end up in that like toxic loop where you actually like, I mean, let's say you ask me about if you could borrow me money, and I'm, I already know that last time you didn't pay me,
It's
on
not
time.
true, by the way.
Like, it's not true, but I mean,
As an
let's say,
example,
yeah, I mean, let's say, I lend you the money, like, and like you don't pay back, and maybe, exactly as I thought it would end, like turn out, and then I might start like getting mad on myself, and
for letting that happen again, even though you knew better, right? That's the thing. You know better, but you still do it, and I think that's what is the annoying part about it.
yeah, exactly, and that's maybe I ask you like, okay, now you should have paid me back. What's going on? Like, and it's almost like you don't give me a clear answer, but you instead you're giving me some almost kind of guilt because I asked you and not giving you more time, even if you never asked for more time, and then I end up, because I still want to help you. I want to be, I want to caretake. I want to, I really want to help you.
Yeah,
so
you hit a
it's
nerve
like,
there. I can relate to that. I have been in situations like this before that I felt guilty in the end, even though there was no reason for me. Like, I'm the one in the right here, but I still felt bad asking and like pushing.
Exactly, exactly. And the thing is, you are still the person that promised me, like, I will pay you back here, and you will. But still, I need to remind you, and you get back to me, and kind of, it's almost like you owe me money, but you kind of end up like,
do I?
who is owning money? Did he, she, or like, yeah.
Yeah.
So, but I think you end up in these kind of situations when you are not clear with the motivation behind, and also when you don't have clear boundaries where you start and end.
Yeah, 100%.
So, yeah, and that's kind of good to have really good boundaries when you are building a business, for sure.
Yeah.
And also when you are building, friendly, loving relationship and friendships, and yeah, so.
Yeah, I knew you would have some good takeaways here. So that's why I chose that topic. Because, like I said, it's also something that I'm still in the process in, and I was curious what you would say. So thank you for this episode. Very interesting. I think we had a good conversation there. And everyone watching, thank you also for watching and joining this episode. And if you have any thoughts or comments, drop them down below. We love to read that and interact with you. Also, if you have any suggestions for future topics. Guys, I'm running out of topics. Give me something to work with so we can create content that is actually, interesting for you and you want to hear about. And otherwise, I would say we see each other in the next episode on Wednesday.
Thank you, guys. See you in the next one.
Bye-bye.